This episode, I chat with Mariah Hedquist, who not only is a stylist, she's also a phenomenal coach, new auntie, and one of my IG besties. Listen in as we talk about encouraging each other, lifting each other up, connecting, and staying connected. It all pays off. Listen in. Are you a beauty or barber pro looking for that push to do that thing you've always wanted to do, whether it's in or out of the salon, spa, or shop? Are you tired of not feeling good enough, smart enough, skilled enough? Are you tired of not getting a handle on your mental health, boundaries, and insecurities? I'm Christine Sherwood, the BeautyPro coach, an internationally certified coach, a salon and spa owner, and your personal Jiminy Cricket. I use my own experiences, good and bad, as a salon owner to help you be more self-aware, authentic, and forward-thinking in your approach to life, in and out of the salon. It's time to reach your version of success with the Beauty Pro Coach podcast. Hello, this is Christine Sherwood, the Beauty Pro Coach, your host of the Beauty Pro podcast. And I'm really excited to get into this chat today because I am here with my IG bestie, Mariah Hedquist, Beauty and the Brain on Instagram. And I'm going to let her talk more about who she is and how we got connected, really. How are you, Mariah?
Hi, I'm great. I'm so excited. Yes, your IG bestie. It's so funny that you said how we got connected because I have to think like I feel like I just slide in people's DMs so often whenever I like see a piece of their content that I like, or for you, I know I really liked your red hair because you were really wearing that bright red at that time. I know now you're rocking more of a blonde look, but I I I think that that's how we met. Didn't I just like reach out to
I
you and
think so.
say, "Hey, I like your page," or something, and then it became mutual circles of friends, you know, like being connected with Lindsay over at Commonwealth and
Yeah.
things like that. So yeah, I think that that's how it
I
went.
think that's how it went. And we were like back and forth with the voice notes and like, well, how do you do this in your coaching? And how do you talk to people? And what are you offering? And we should do this. And then, oh my
Yeah.
God, you know, so and so. Like, just
Yes.
kind of
Yeah, because I
emulated.
think too what connected me with you is our coaching methods seemed very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, "Oh, yeah, 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 I can talk to her about, just kind of appear in the coaching world, if you will."
Yeah.
Um so yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I love how we are, at least for me, living what I'm always saying, in that, you really just need to reach out to people, like ask for what you need, like just talk to people, network. That's how you build your network outside of the salon, if you
Mhm.
will. You just kind of connect with people and see what they think about ideas and bounce ideas off. What do you
Yeah.
what do you say with that?
Yeah, I agree. I think when I think about today's day and age, what maybe stops professionals from reaching out to other professionals is this sort of notion of like, I don't want them to be offended and think I'm
Mm,
trying to get something from them that I would otherwise be paying for, like in terms of coaching or like an educator or something like, hey, I really love the way that you did this placement or blah, blah, blah. I have a question. And so I think that might make people feel intimidated to reach out and make connections. And so, even with that possibly being a thing, still reach out to people. I mean, at the end of the day, educators and I know coaches, like we're here to serve the communities at large, right? And so, if
mm.
you have a question and there's a one off thing that you want support with or need help with, reach out to that person. Or if you think that it's somebody that you could like be friends with, you think that they're cool, you like their style, reach out, give them a compliment, or just say you were inspired by something of theirs. I mean, I'm sure that no one's going to be mad about that. No one's going to be upset and say, get out of
Right.
my DMs or like send you an invoice, you know? So
Right, right,
yeah,
right.
it can be tough in our industry,
Mhm.
especially working independent, like the way I
Yeah.
work in a salon suite where you're not in a salon community per se, but you can
Mhm.
always go out and build that. You can build that for yourself. You just got to be brave. Be brave and put
Yeah.
yourself out there.
When you reach out to people, when you slide into their DMs because you are a suite owner, right? Like, do you ever feel like, they're gonna reject me, like, they don't care about me, little old me and my suite. Do you ever feel like that?
I feel like sometimes if I don't get a response, I will say that the thought crosses my mind of like, oh, they're just, maybe they aren't thinking about me. But it's so fleeting
Mm,
because the reality of life is lifing, right? Like there's a lot going on. And I've worked hard to not take it personally.
mhm.
Um, because there was a period of time when I would, or a period of time when I would just be so preoccupied with what are they going to think about me? Are they going to think that this is stupid? Are they going to think that I'm weird for, just this
Mhm.
random girl on the internet? And so I've spent a lot of time intentionally not taking lack of response personally and saying, maybe they're busy. Maybe Instagram kicked it over to that weird folder of like the abyss of message requests and they just
Right.
haven't got to it yet. So yeah, I've definitely experienced it before, but not as much now. Now I'm a confident DM diver.
I love it. Okay, so what's your story, Mariah? Like, how did you become a hairdresser? What attracted you to this profession? What could you have been doing otherwise? Like, who are you, really?
What attracted me to this profession? I will say I have one of my aunts, she
Mhm,
owns a salon out here. I'm in Michigan, so she's about an hour away from me. And she's my aunt by marriage. So her and my uncle, they got married when I was young. And when I tell you I fell in love with this woman, I fell in love with her and I still am in love with her to this day. I just thought she was the coolest person. She always had the coolest hair and she drove cool cars and she had cool clothes. And I was like, I want to be just like her when I grow up. And I remember always just knowing I'm going to go to cosmetology school, but I have to go to college first because my parents, were
mhm,
really big into the whole 4 year thing. Not no knocks to a 4 year degree or
mhm,
anything like that. But um so I remember talking to her and saying, I'm going to go to beauty school. What do I have to do? What does that look like? How do I be like you? Because I wanted to be just like her. And what ended up actually happening is I did not go to a 4 year college. I have an associate's,
mhm.
um, but I got my cos license first because there was a co-op program in my high school. So I
Cool.
got to go to cos school for half the day and then go to my high school for half the day, and that helped me to kind of like speed up my timeline a little bit. So
Mhm.
I started in the industry when I was 16, and then when I graduated from high school, shortly after that, I got my license. Had a little gap of time of like, what the heck am I doing with my life? Then I went to college, and I ended up working in that salon for that aunt. I worked there for 3 years, and her space, they really were, they established my foundation in this industry. I
Mhm,
feel so blessed to have been in because many of them like were doing hair 10 years, 15 years,
mhm.
20 years, and then here's this like new kid on the block.
Right.
And they were so supportive of me and so nurturing to me, and they would help me and they would hand me Kleenex when I would cry, when I would mess up people's hair.
Oh.
In the beginning. And I was really fortunate to have that be my first experience in a salon.
Mhm.
And that's where it all started. That's where it started.
So cool.
I was I did the front desk at that salon, and then eventually I ended up having my own chair.
And then what led you to be on your own now as an indie? An
From
independent.
there as an independent. So my time at that salon ended after I graduated from college, because it was away from my hometown. And in talking with my aunt too, she was super supportive. She's like, I just think you'll have more opportunity closer to home just because it's more of like there's more going on towards the city,
Mm,
I guess.
mhm,
And so I moved back home. I started working at a different salon that was commission based, and I worked there for eight
okay.
years And through that process of growing and learning and going through a whole bunch of different roles there, like that was where I got into education. So I was an educator there and I was in leadership at that salon. And then I eventually got to this place, really where my salon owner sold the
Mm.
business. We got a new owner that came in, and at that time I just realized, all right, I'm ready to stretch out and do some different things, and it's time for me to go out on my own. So that's when I made that decision to go independent and open up my suite, and I have been doing that for, it will be 2 years in October.
Oh my goodness. So this is actually kind of recent.
Yeah.
Wow. And then you had COVID. So like
Yeah.
it was like perfect timing to be like, I'm done. See you later.
Yeah. And that was honestly like, when I started looking was during those times, because when we were all kind of in the dark about what's going to happen next for
Hmm.
industries, but particularly ours, that's, so people-y. Um, I didn't know if people were going to want to be in those community spaces anymore. And I was just trying to think about how I could still have a career and be able to make a lifestyle for myself with literally the only career path that I've had for my whole life. I'm like, did I just shred my license up now? Like, what's going on? So that's when I started looking more into the suite situation. And
Okay.
now we know what we know. Salons
Yeah.
are definitely still a thing, but the suite proved to just be a better fit for me for where I was at in my own journey.
Yeah. Okay, so with that journey, what I could go two ways with this question, but I'll start with this. Like who were your top three like influencers or like role models in the hair world?
Um, Interesting. That's such a good question. If I'm going to be fully honest, I feel like such a brat when I say I try to keep my eyes off of a lot of like influency type of stuff.
Okay.
Just because for me it can end up being a distraction.
Mm.
I can get over into a lot of comparisonitis of
Mhm.
like compare and despair and feeling like rather than being inspired, I'm like, oh my gosh, I suck and I know it. Just hang it up and
Oh God.
um
No.
so
No.
and that's what we don't want, right? Like
No,
that's
we don't want
that's
that.
just the self-awareness of
Yeah.
saying, maybe this isn't a great thing for me. That's not to say that I don't appreciate people's talent and like see that
Right.
they're talented and like want them to succeed. Of course, I'm not like
Right.
a hater over here, but um so when I think of what inspired me in the hair world. So okay, a huge inspiration for me. I'm not sure what she's doing right now, but Jen Plank. She used to be affiliated with TG for a while. Um, but she was kind of like my first taste of life coaching, like things
Mm.
beyond like techniques and things. Um, in the hair world, I saw her at ABS
Okay.
and she got me thinking about both, like just kind of doing your own thing. Cause when you see her, she at the time she was wearing her hair in this like sick mohawk and she just was so like super cool and she'd wear these
Cool.
platforms and um
Yeah.
so she was a super super inspirational to me of what could be beyond doing hair, beyond the act of doing hair. So she kind of opened my eyes to that side of the industry.
Hmm.
Um and then inside of the industry, working on my education team, the team that I was with, that I'm not on anymore, a lot of the artists there, just phenomenally talented with technique and color theory and things like that. So some of my peers and some people up on the platforms, I guess I would say.
That's cool. I was really expecting you to say like the top celebrity stylists and everything, but it sounds like you kept it local. Like you
Yeah,
really look up to the people who are in your community and around you.
yeah, for sure. For sure.
That's
'Cause
so cool.
I feel like in that way, it's just kind of like not to say that the tippy top isn't attainable. Obviously, the people there have attained it,
Mhm.
but when I can see someone's real story or like really connect
Mm.
with that person as a human being and just know like where they came from and where they are now. Like I saw Jen Plank on a platform and then I ended up like being able to text her. Like she gave me her phone number one day and I could like go back and forth with her and like, I don't do that now, but it was just
Yeah.
we were just able to connect, and she was from Michigan too, so we had that same kind of um location connection and
Mhm.
things like that. So yeah, just people that I can really see what it is that they're doing and see where they were and where they are now, like that full story. I'm really inspired by.
I love that. So with that, let me just jump right into the question of what's your version of success and how are you making it happen? Like, let's just get to it.
Yes. So my version of success would be being able to do the things that I love. Like I love my work right now and serving people as a hairstylist and as a coach. Being able to expand into that in such a way that that I'm able to obviously make enough money that I can have more of my time freed up,
Mm,
kind of like still working but not having to clock as many hours to make the same amount of money so that I can just enjoy things like spending time with my husband, or maybe even free up some of his time in his businesses. Maybe we could invest some of the money from my businesses into his, that he's got new businesses going. Being able to spend time with my family and my brand new baby niece that I'm obsessed with, my family and my friends, and just not having to trade time for money and being able to have the experiences of life, trying new things, going different places, spending time with people that I otherwise, wouldn't be able to spend time with because I'm at work. And so it's really just um, being able to work and serve, but not having that overshadow the personal side of me and of
mm.
my life, being able to um, have time with the ones that I love and I care about.
Yeah. So what's the end goal? Like, what is the big dream for your career? Like, what is that? And what's the big goal for your life outside of the salon?
I think eventually I see myself doing hair purely out of enjoyment, like not having to rely on it for my income anymore,
Mhm.
but retaining however many clients, maybe it's a day or 2 days, and doing it because I just enjoy the art of it. And with that, growing and scaling the coaching business, maybe getting into more events, larger scale events, maybe shows, maybe something different. I feel like I can see fragments of the bigger vision.
Mm,
But then if there's anything that I've learned is as we take our steps in our journey over time, you realize that opportunities come up that you just never would have seen coming. So I always want to leave space for that too, ultimately. But I've always seen myself teaching on larger stages, speaking on larger stages, or in front of larger audiences. The stage could be small, but just
mhm.
larger, in larger group settings and things like that. So did that answer the question? I feel like
I
that got
think
a
so.
little ranty. Okay, good.
No, I think so. I think so. That's so cool because I know for our industry, we can get so segmented,
Mhm.
right? That we're like two split personalities, one in the salon, one at home, two different goals, two different lives. Um, and so to just for you just to hear that you hold space for opportunity in both,
Thank
that's
you.
that's perfect. That's beautiful. And I feel like that's such an encouragement to whoever's listening. You don't have to like dream so astronomically big that, oh my God, you're wasting time listening to this podcast. Like, no, like you can change your vision and you can change your goal.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And staying open, like that concept, I was just talking to one of my coaching clients about this concept that opportunity is everywhere.
Mhm.
And we don't necessarily have to know exactly what the opportunities are, but there's opportunities everywhere. And hey, when it presents itself, I'm going to be there. I'm going to see it. I'm going to recognize it.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to take it up, or I'm going to say next time or whatever. But there's more than just the tunnel vision that I feel like sometimes we can get ourselves into. And, sometimes leave us be disappointed by when we have this like linear idea of how this industry or success in this industry is supposed to go. When that doesn't happen, we feel frustrated. But let us also not forget that there's opportunities everywhere. There's other opportunities to be successful and feel fulfilled. And maybe it looks different than what you imagined, but maybe different isn't bad.
Mm-hmm. What are you? what do you coach on, and who do you coach?
I am a life coach for hairstylists. So I used to do business only. And truthfully, I offered business only because I just felt like that was more familiar or more recognizable,
Hmm.
um, and would be more in demand, if I'm being fully honest, than life coaching. But what I find is your life and business are not separate because you're involved in both of those, and you take your same brain with you everywhere that you go. You don't put on a different one when you go into your business. It's the same you, the same one. So that's why I offer life coaching, which is more general, but for hairstylists, because there are things that are um, specific to people in our industry that we come up against, struggles or things like that, or just how our work affects our lives and so on and so on. So I help hairstylists navigate that dynamic, so that they don't feel like it's one or the other, but both. You have your life and your business, whatever your life outside of business looks like, whether you're single, whether you have, you're married, whether you're dating or kids, no kids, whatever. You're somebody outside of your professional space, and you don't have to be one or the other. It's both, because you are both. So I just help them navigate that.
And what's the myth that you get most about being a coach and about what you do?
Ooh. I would maybe like, I don't know if this would be a myth, but maybe like a misunderstanding, or
Okay.
I want to say misnomer, but I don't know what misnomer
I
means.
know. I love that word, but I never know how to use it properly. So
Yeah.
just put it back
Um,
there.
yeah, I think, okay, so maybe misconception. Let's
That's
go
a
with that
good
one.
one.
Let's
That's
go with that one.
compromise. Compromise.
Words. Regular thesaurus over here. Um, a misconception that I think some people have is that coaching is just positive thinking. Like, oh, we're just gonna be positive.
Hmm.
You're having a hard time with this thing. No, you're not. Just be positive. It's not that at all.
Hmm.
It is the what coaching is learning the association, like helping the client learn how they relate to the world around them, relating to themselves, relating to their business, relating to their spouse, their kids, their whatever, so
Hmm.
we can look at the details of that relationship and how are we responding? How are we reacting so that we can change that? Is positivity involved? Well, yeah, because it's like,
Right.
who doesn't want to think positively? But it's not all about that. It's not just let's slap a positive label on it. It's there's more nitty-gritty that's involved, and um it's it's really valuable work. It's really beautiful. I've seen some wonderful transformations come from my clients and their willingness to get in and do that work. So
Yeah.
I think that that's one of the biggest misconceptions. It's not just positive thinking and everything's all like happy, happy, joy, joy, whatever. But
Yeah.
we'll get there.
So as a coach, right, I feel like there's an expectation from everybody who knows that you're a coach and that you're a hairstylist or in the beauty world, that you are just on all the time and you're just so happy all the time because you just love what you do and it sets your soul on fire, that you have no bad days and your life is totally put together. But we know
Yes.
that that is not the truth. I
Yeah.
have I have had like bad weeks, months at a time. So my question is, what really influences you outside of the salon, whether good or bad, that affects how you show up for your clients, your team, just people inside the salon?
Um, I think, hmm. You're making my brain work. Okay. I guess when I think bigger picture, what influences me overall and my posture overall,
Mhm.
to show up the best that I can, like the calmest, most connected,
Mhm.
most curious version of myself, because that's a version that I want my clients to experience, right? Like inside of the salon, I want them to be working with a stylist that is invested in them and the result that they want,
Mhm.
helping just create this experience for them.
Right.
So I suppose I think about that longer lasting legacy. Like if you've ever thought about, oh, when you're sitting in your rocking chair and you're 90 years old and you think back over the course of your life and it's like, what do you want people to say about you, or what do you want people to think about you, or the impression that you want to have? I would always want to leave people with the impression, with that impression that I just gave, that, she was somebody that was attentive and came in and was focused on service, but still relatable and a human, because I am, even if I am having a bad day, or something is going on in my personal life, that doesn't become my client's issue to then solve. But we can always relate on that human level because they've had bad days too.
Mm-hmm.
So even in, mentioning it to them, it's just a point of relatability, but it's not, now your appointment's going to suck because I'm having this bad day. So
Right.
that longer lasting legacy or impression, if you will, just thinking that through. How do I want to be remembered? And if I can help it, I'd like to be remembered this way.
See, this is why I love these questions, and I love talking with you, because you answered like 3 questions that I had prepared, like word for word, and I was like, great.
Super. Love that for me.
No, but it's good. It's good. But like when you have a bad day, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you, I guess, like mentally like snap out of it?
Mm-hmm.
That question. But then also, how do you, when you feel it happening, how do you put a stop to it and be like, okay, I know what's going to happen here and I am not going to let it go any further? What's
Yeah.
some of the like rituals or habits, or how do you do it?
Yes. So, for me, what I used to do before that I don't recommend is I would judge that moment
Mhm.
very harshly, especially as a coach. There was like this period of time, like how you were saying, people think that we never have a bad day. I was adopting that belief for myself of like, Mariah, you shouldn't be feeling this way because hello, like you're a coach, like you understand emotions, you understand all this stuff, you shouldn't be feeling this way. But then I remember I'm a human being and
Mhm.
I'm having a human experience, and this is part of being a human, feeling grumpy, feeling disappointed, being annoyed, being mad. That's all part of my human experience. And so when I was judging those quote unquote negative experiences and telling myself that they shouldn't be there, that just made it worse. That would just kind of like double down on it. It's like throwing gas on the fire, or like
Mm.
salt in the wound or whatever. So rather than doing that, slowing down and saying, okay, well, what is it exactly that I'm feeling? Let me get specific about that, because the reason for those things, like if I'm feeling angry, is going to be different than if I'm feeling grumpy, than if I'm feeling sad, than if I'm feeling grief. All of the reasons for that is going to be different based off of whatever that feeling is. So let me be curious here. What am I actually feeling? And looking at those details, and then say, okay, is there something in here that I can actually change or is within my control?
Mm.
Like, I'll just use this example. If I'm feeling annoyed at my husband, can I change this by going and have a conversation with him about something that's bothering him? Like, can communication solve this for me?
Mm.
And then, do I want to take that action to resolve this feeling? And if it's something that's out of my control, or if it's something that I can't change right in this moment, okay, I'm going to let myself feel this feeling and just let it be here. I'm not going to try to change it or fix it. I'm not going to like take action from it. I'm just going to kind of let it be, and then decide how I want to move forward. Maybe it's, we can't have a conversation now, but we'll do it later tonight when he gets home from work. And that'll be the solution. And if it's something that's out of my control, completely and totally out of my control, then I just resolve, this is out of my control. I'm going to let it go. And even if the feeling doesn't go away right away, I made the decision, I'm letting it go, and I can get out of that reactive state. And eventually it does. It just kind of simmers down and goes away because I acknowledged what was going on. I didn't try to ignore it. Um, I gave it some space, processed a little bit, and we had that resolution and action step at the end. So that's how I manage myself whenever I'm having one of those days.
Love it. I love it. I love that, because so many of us, you know, something we stub our toe, okay, and we see stars, and for the rest of the day we are stuck on that toe that got, you know, hit so hard in this morning when you were getting ready in the dark, that it's
Yeah.
like your day is ruined. You
Or
know?
you start looking for all the other things. I stubbed my toe, and then I dropped my coffee in the parking lot on my way inside, and then I got a paper cut. Like, you're keeping track of just all the horrible
Yeah.
things in the day.
Keeping score. Like, no, that is self-torture. Like, oh my
Yes.
God. Okay,
Yes.
so what's a struggle right now that you are going through?
Ooh, I have no struggle. No, I'm just kidding. The a struggle right now for me, I would say, um, planning rest and
Mhm.
break times, like like totally like not like no work time or like just free time, with no intention around it.
Mm.
Because for me, like for years and years and years, I was like a work yourself into the ground until you die type
Yeah.
person. Like, and I had an experience even at the commission salon I was working at where I was so totally overworked and so burnt out where it was like my body one night shut down after work. I remember I came home from work on a Saturday
Mm.
and it was like everything from my neck down was like control alt delete, like shut down, done.
Okay.
And
Okay.
I felt like I had like a lead blanket on, like I couldn't move.
Wow.
And I mean, like I wasn't paralyzed, I could move, but it was just this level of exhaustion that I had
Yeah.
never experienced in my life. And mentally I was alert, but I remember telling my husband, I was like, I just need to like lay here. I don't know what's going on, but like I just need to lay here for a minute because I am just beyond exhausted. And I think that night I slept for 12 hours or something, like 12 or
Whoa.
14 hours, because my body was just wrecked from working and working and working. And like that's the physical part. And then the mental part, like sometimes mental work can be just as exhausting
Hmm.
as physical work. So I was doing a lot of that, and I did not make time for rest or for any time for myself. And if ever I did, it's like, oh, I'm going to try to have the most productive rest day possible. Like, and
Yeah, that's like totally opposite. Yeah.
yeah, all the mind drama and head trash that I was navigating through at that time. So, um, I'm much more open to it now. Like I see the value of it. I believe in it. It's something I desire to do. But that doesn't mean, I mean, I have years of old habit, right, that I'm
Mhm.
unhabiting. So, finding the time, keeping it there, not booking things in that space, or not kind of like sitting almost in the anxiety of like, I don't have anything on the plan today. And my brain's like, but you could be doing this and you could be doing that.
Yeah. Yep.
Just like
Same. Happens to
calm
me
it
too.
down. So yeah, so I would say that sounds like such a like a first world struggle. I don't know how to rest, but
Yeah,
you know what I'm trying to say. I
like
think
it's like I'm sorry, but it's true. So,
that's the reality of my situation. That like
yeah,
that's the real answer,
I love
and
it.
so that's where
What's
I am right now.
what's your biggest struggle or failure ever? Like you like those moments that you just like you're putting your eyeliner on and you're just like all of a sudden you have like a flashback and you're like, "Oh my God, you just want the earth to swallow you." Like what is that
Like those
for
cringe
you?
moments.
Yes.
Oh man, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
Now you're going to be thinking about it like after this
I'm
call.
gonna wake up in the night and be like, "Oh my gosh,
Christine, I
no,
know what it is now.
no." I mean, like when I think about things like that, probably just some things that I did in the salon, like as I'm learning and growing. Like, I put up a post not too long ago where I was talking about in salon moments that make me want to like crawl in my skin.
Oh, yeah.
And like I think about the first times I ever did like bleach and tones or color services that just went totally not according to plan. Like the first couple that I did, I had clients with like orange hair and blue hair and silver hair. I'm like, none of this is platinum, and so I think of something like that. But I don't know, I guess maybe at this point of time, I don't ruminate on things like I used to. I don't hold on to
Good.
stuff. So
Yeah,
I
you
just
can
it's like, it's done. It's in the past. It's over,
see. That's
so
good.
I don't have many skin crawl moments, but it wasn't always this way. I wasn't born like this, and this hasn't been my story.
This is like years of practice, of
Yes,
self-awareness,
very much so.
of going through the process of being
Yes.
self-aware. Like it's not just, oop, hired a coach, I'm fixed. Like
Yes.
that doesn't.
Yeah. And I think that that's very important to say because I've been in coaching. I've had my brain coached for years in coaching relationships and in therapy and like things like that. So I just have spent a lot of time uh changing my association with
Yeah.
things. So yeah, I don't want to mislead people and have them think like, oh, I've just been this way my whole life. There was a period of time I was like 180 of this, total opposite. So yeah, I think that that needs to be said as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, I know for me, you look back on your life and you're like, oh, well, when my parents got divorced, that was like my first taste of therapy. And then you go on your life and then you go through bad relationships and then you get certified to be a coach. And it's like, oh, I've been doing this my whole life. Like you go through different phases. So yeah.
Yeah.
What's as hairstylist, as a beauty pro, pretty a good portion of your life. I mean, since you were 16.
Like half my life.
Yeah. So like what is a lesson that you have learned about the world, about people, that every lawyer, doctor, realtor, mailman needs to learn too?
You have such hard-hitting questions. Okay, I feel like I'm trying to think like in terms of those industries of like things that they might not have scope of because they're just not in our profession. Um, hmm, it's a tough question.
I'm sorry, but I'm not at the
No,
same time.
I was like, don't be sorry. Make my brain work. This is good.
Um,
You're
like
making it put in some work. Um,
it's just I asked that question because it's just, we as beauty and barber pros, like we're such a conglomerate of all the things: marketing, tech, relationships, creativity, science, like we're all these things. And then we got to show up, and then you got the therapist kind of label there too. So you got to listen, you got to, and I know for me, I've learned so much about people just by them sitting in the chair. So I'm just curious to what that could be for you too.
I guess I'll just give you the first answer that comes up as you're asking the question is I found that people are more alike than they are different. Just I've had people of all different backgrounds and ethnicities and things in my chair and in conversation. What I find is everybody says, in my family, we do this, or in my culture, we say that, and da, da, da. But the things that they're saying and doing are all the exact same. Yet
Wow.
people believe that it's just in their family or just in their group or just, and so the thing that is fascinating to me when I sit back and look at it is like, man, if human beings in general realized how much more they had in common with one another, I wonder like if the world would just be a better place rather than believing like this makes me different than everybody else and this is why I can't connect or whatever. A lot of the issues are the exact same, or a lot of the questions or the fears or the goals or aspirations are the exact same. So I wonder what would be different if people just knew that about each other and
Yeah.
could connect on these levels. And I think the reason that we have that access pass is just because of the proximity and the type of relationship that we have. People are more vulnerable with their stylist than the random stranger on the street. But that's one thing that intrigues me, that kind of that I think everyone should know, is we're more alike than we are different.
That's so funny. That's how I feel about food. Like like all these different cultures, they all have rice or
Yeah,
they all have potatoes. And you're like,
right.
let the potato unite us, okay? Let
Yes.
it happen.
Let the carbs bring us together.
So anyway, that is just my thought. But Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our personal relationships. I know that you're married, but what has been a struggle for you? Not even, I don't want to keep talking about struggles, but just some kind of like misunderstandings or conflicts being so much about your clients and then your relationships. Because I know our industry gets a little weird with our personal relationships.
Okay, run the question by me one more time. You said our personal relationships.
Okay. So how are your personal relationships? Let's just keep it simple, right? How are your personal relationships, Mariah? Being a hairdresser, are they prospering?
Okay, yes. So I would say now,
Mhm.
now they are. Before it was a challenge because of like how I described how I was in
Mhm.
the past, with the overworking, and like work was my number one priority.
Mhm.
So my friends would take a back seat. My family would take a back seat. Um, like just doing things for fun and enjoyment took a back seat. So naturally relationships suffer. And then even when I'm around people, I would prioritize my relationship with my husband. But I think even then, because I'm mentally exhausted and because I'm like my mind is still halfway focused on work,
Mhm.
I'm not fully present. So they're not getting all of me. And so of course, you can't build relationships or connection if you're kind of like listening halfway or not paying attention. So
What
uh
would you tell them? Be like, I love you, but like, how would you?
I feel like it would just be kind of like, oh, like for example, whenever I would get invited to things, I'll see if I can make it, or like, oh, I'm working that day, so I'm not going to be able to come, or like, I can't, it would just always
Okay.
be work related, or I can't,
Mhm.
I'm not going to be able to be there type thing,
Mhm.
or like at home, it's I'm sitting on my phone. We're supposed to be spending quality time, but I'm like on my phone trying to write Instagram captions or like doing
Mm.
research on some thing that's happening in the salon, and I'm trying to figure out a solution for it, or like whatever. It Work just became everything. So naturally relationships would become tense, become strained. So yeah, but so that was then. But now, because my relationships are important to me, and I realize that I'm able to, because ultimately what I was trying to do with work was ensure that I was doing everything that I could to be successful. And I'm realizing, oh, I can still do that, but without spending all of this time and all of this effort over here, I can kind of redirect some of that energy and still meet my goals and
Mhm.
still, be prosperous. And so I can have some freed up bandwidth for my relationships and things that are important to me.
Yeah. It just goes into what's important to you, you'll make time for,
Right. Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
And I think I can't remember who posed this question to me, but it was somewhere along in the world of coaching, and it stuck with me ever since. But with things like that, it's like, um, what in my life might need to pause or stop while I make room for this new thing? So you kind of examine, what's the priority right now? Like if my relationship with my husband is a priority right now and I want to make this a goal, then what else might need to pause or stop? Because right now I'm maxing out all of my time. I'm not
Mhm.
going to create more time. So if I'm going to allocate some time to him and for him, then what else is going to have to pause temporarily or stop so that I can make that time for him? And just asking myself that question, because we overload our plates a lot of the time by trying to just add more. You
Mhm.
can't just keep adding and adding and adding and adding, because that's where overwhelm comes from. That's where burnout comes from. So that question has been really powerful for me
Yeah.
in helping make those decisions
I
about
love I love that. I'm gonna use that for myself, just part of my everyday self conversation, actually.
time.
So what do you have right now, if you do at all? I mean, we didn't even talk about this before, but what do you have going on right now as a coach that people listening can reach out to you? Do you have like any programs, any freebies, anything like that people can kind of get a taste of what it's like to work with you?
Um, I don't have anything that would suffice for a taste. I just have the full meal. I have my one-on-one coaching
I just have
available.
the full banquet,
I just
guys.
have the
Okay.
full spread, okay?
Come hungry. I love
Exactly.
it.
I have my primary offer, which is my one-on-one program for
Okay.
6 months. And I use the term program loosely. There's not a structured framework per se. It's all customized to the client and what they need. We find that out. I offer a complimentary consultation call. So if someone was curious about what it is like to work with me or what I could help them with, then I definitely recommend getting on a consult call. And it's intended to be conversational, to find out where they are, where they want to be, see if what I have to offer can help get them there, and then ultimately make a decision at the end of whether they want to go forward with coaching or not. But if it's just kind of one-off things, or hey, Mariah, I was curious your thoughts about this issue that I'm having, you can message me at any time, send me a DM. I'm happy to help, I'm happy to support, and kind of direct from there. But in terms of offers, I have my one-on-one program, the full meal.
What's your Instagram handle so that they can do that? We'll have it in the show notes too, but what is because I know I botched it when I was introducing you.
I think you did okay. It's @_beauty and the brain.
I forgot the underscore. That's what it is. Yeah. Oh, I love it. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
This
thank
was
you so much for
cool.
having me. It was so fun.
I have one more question.
Okay.
Which is what's a question that you wish I would have asked, or a topic that we could have gone into that I didn't, that you wish we did? And what would you have said?
So I come to these things just like ready for action, ready for whatever, because I'm that type. So but I guess I think a topic that could be fun to dive into would be, this would be more than a question, probably could be its own episode.
Okay.
Some of the mindset, like the beliefs that hairstylists have that are limiting, like showing why those are limiting and break those down, and then offer some alternatives, some adjustments, if you will, because it's common. I find, like, amongst my clients, and then in different Facebook groups and so on, that the core issues are all the same. And so I think if people had some insight into those things, and to see what results are being produced by holding on to those beliefs, or like scarcity mindsets and people pleasing and all kinds of things like that, what a difference it can make in just their day-to-day
I love that.
space.
I love that. We do have an episode coming out about limiting beliefs, but I love how you framed that. So yeah, we'll probably have another episode about that, but that's so cool.
Yeah, I love it. So I'll be excited to hear that one then.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So all right, Mariah, that's it for our episode today. I feel like it went by so fast.
So fast. I feel like we just started.
So if you are listening and you loved our conversation and you want to reach out to Mariah, even if it's just to say, hey girl, be sure to tap her link in the show notes, reach out to her, and that's it. That's a wrap for today. So thank you for listening, you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Did you totally relate to Mariah like I did? She truly is so understanding and just cool, you know? If you want more of Mariah, check out this episode's show notes, reach out, connect, and DM her that you listened to this episode of the BeautyPro podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave your ratings and reviews on this episode. Chat you later, babes. If you loved this episode, subscribe to the BeautyPro podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to leave your reviews, stars, feedback so I can continue bringing the content you deserve and want most. Your feedback fuels this podcast. The more you give, the more you get back. You can follow me at The BeautyPro Coach on Instagram and Facebook. Want to contact me directly? Email me at befree@goldentruthcoaching.com.